Dave Hogshead here for Practical Shorin-ryu. I'm excited. I've got a new series I'm going to be starting. I'm going to be looking at a solo pad drill for the kata Fukyugata Ich. This is the first basic kata in Matsubashi. Other Shorin-ryu systems also use this particular form. It's a basic kata and it's appealing to everyone in the sense that you'll see a lot of common techniques, common positions that are common across a variety of basic kata. And I'm thinking about developing these solo pad drills. One, because I've developed and created videos on heavy bag solo training and shadowboxing solo training drills for this kata, but I realized that not everyone has heavy bag. And so I was thinking, well, how can we still get some impact training in our solo training? And I thought, solo pad drills. And I got the inspiration from Ian Abernathy, who has some really nice solo training drills using the pads. And also Lee Morrison of Urban Combatives, who's got some amazing material. He's an absolute beast in the best possible way, right? He's got some really great material in terms of self-protection, self-defense skills and tactics, and using target mitts in solo training. So I'm sort of working with all these ideas like, hey, let me see if I can figure out some drills for bunkai application for the Fukyugata Ich. The other thing that I think is important here is a lot of dojos and gyms are starting to open up, which is wonderful. Everyone's been closed down and people have been quarantined and so on because of COVID-19. However, a lot of dojos are still required to maintain physical distancing between their students, which means no partner training. And that's a problem. So possibly some folks whose dojos are opening, they might be able to incorporate some of these types of pad drills, solo training pad drills, as a collective, each of the students individually using pads, so you can still get some impact training even though you're not allowed to necessarily have partner training. Again, a caveat here, this type of solo training is not intended to replace partner training. It's only intended to supplement. You have to do training with partners with varying degrees of compliance and so on. Another thing to think about is whenever you develop a particular type of drill, be it with a partner or solo training, there will be flaws, there will be drawbacks. And I'll be talking about some of those as I explain the different drills for the different bunkai segments that I'll be talking about. So just keep that in mind. But if we think about using solo training drills in our overall matrix of training, then you can they supplement each other, and so you can be building upon each other, and as one drill might have a particular flaw, that flaw can be corrected and dealt with in another drill that you might engage. And that's true of any kind of training that we do. Obviously we can't have absolute realism, we'd be hurting each other, and that's no fun, nor is it productive or lucrative for folks who are running dojos as part of their livelihood. Alright, so what I'll be doing basically is I'll demo the kata for those who aren't familiar with it, and then I will explain the particular segment of the kata, the bunkai application, and then I will demo a solo pad training drill for those particular segments. So I hope you enjoy. Fukyugata Ich. The first bunkai drill that we'll be looking at, the first sequence, is basically that opening sequence. So the opening sequence, again, you start off with low block, step punch, 180 degrees, low block, step punch. A variety of ways that we can look at this particular sequence. But basically, I'm going to be looking at it in terms of a kind of preemptive strike, or dealing with the enemy's limbs that are up around the head, sort of covering the head. You want to get shots into the head so you can stun them, knock them out, disorient them, giving you enough opportunity to escape. So what I'm thinking here is that low block motion, this is reaching up, grabbing a limb that's covering their head. The low block motion will be pulling that arm down, and then you've got a step punch. So basically you're reaching in, grabbing that arm, pulling it down. Now the kata says get off to the 90 degrees. Basically you're getting 90 degrees to the enemy. It takes the other side of their weapons temporarily away, and it's harder for them to hit you. You've controlled this lead hand. They can't hit you with that arm, and now you're free to step in and blast him. Okay? So that's the low block step punch. Hopefully that drops them, in which case you can run away. If not, you hit them a few times, they're still standing there. You've got the wind up for the low block going 180 degrees the opposite direction. I'm thinking of that wind up as hitting the back of their head or their neck. So you've got pull that arm down, you're stepping in, punching, you're going to then pull back, hit the back of the head, that's the wind up for the low block. You hit, pull them in tight, grab nose, eyes, mouth, chin, whatever you got, and then the low block motion will be pulling them and taking them to the ground. You're going to twist the head back, where the head goes, the body usually goes. You're going to use that weight shift into the forward stance to pull them down, right? Hopefully they're down right there. You've got a punch and you're out. If for whatever reason they don't go down, they happen to step or spin out of it, that's fine. The kata says step punch. Right? So that's going to be the basic application that we're dealing with. And as I mentioned before, I've got other videos for shadow boxing that. Well, and also working it on the heavy bag. Well, let's see how can we possibly do that sequence using a target mitt for solo training. All right, so I've got my target mitt on. Now, of course, one problem here is that often I'm going to be grabbing, right, with this hand, and in the kata, the hikite is grabbing and controlling that limb. One drawback to these particular drills is that I'm not necessarily practicing that controlling of the limb because I need to use this as my target to strike. However, you can supplement that with visualization, where you're concentrating on visualizing what it is you're doing. So even though physically I'm not necessarily pulling into hikite, I can be imagining that's what I'm doing while I still have this hand up for striking. Now, Ian Abernathy and Lee Morrison, they talk about the other aspect here is this hand can also be controlling that target. Proprioception, controlling the head, you're striking, and in some cases that we'll be taking advantage of that, but in other cases less so, because this hand, in terms of the kata, this hand is actually a hikite. It's controlling that limb. So just you have to keep that in mind and sort of make adjustments and cognitively remember what this hand is doing, even as it serves as a target. And I hope that makes sense. All right, so we've got your enemies in front. You've been striking, or whatever happens to be. They could be pointing at you. They could be getting aggressive. They could be trying to close the distance, and you've decided, I've got to hit this guy and run. So one way to do that is clear limbs away from his head, your target, right? So what we're going to be doing is you're going to be reaching out, pulling that lead hand down as you get off to the side. So there's that low block. Then you're going to get a step punch. You're just going to simply step in, lift that target mitt up. There's your strike. Yeah? Now again, in the kata, you're hikite, but for the purposes of the drill, we need a target. We want to practice our impact. Right? Now the other nice thing about using this type of drill is that you get a really good sense of how powerful your punches are close range. Often when we're doing sparring and stuff, things are at a fighting distance, but in self-defense, that's not the case. So this will give you a real good sense of how powerful your techniques happen to be in close range. All right, so that first low block step punch, low block step punch. And you can practice that a few times. The kata shows you one punch. Obviously, in a confrontation, you can hit multiple times, right? The kata is just telling you pull that limb down and strike. All right, so we've got pull down, strike. Now, if they don't drop, the kata says you can hit the back of the head. That's the wind up for the low block. Pull them down. So you've got pull them down, step punch, hit the. Now this is, remember, this is the head. So just move your pad. You've got strikes. There's your wind up for the low block, right? So you hit the back of the head, grab, do your pivot, low block. That's the pulling and pulling the person down, right? They should fall right here. You would be holding this hand, right? Punching them. So in terms of this drill, strike the back of the head, grab the eyes, nose, face, mouth, chin, whatever. You're going to pull them down. Now you're going to just move your target. That's the head, strike, and away. Right? If they don't go down, right here, strike, you hit the back of the head, you pull, they happen to step out of it, it doesn't work for whatever reason, that's fine. The kata says step punch, in which case I'm going to do a palm heel strike. I would be punching with this hand in the kata. So they spun around, they're still standing, I'm going to grab something and then step in palm heel to the head. In which case I'm just going to use this hand now as the target for the head. Palm heel to the head, back away. So what would this possibly look like working this drill? And away. Or if they don't go down, and away. And then you would just switch and do it to the other side. Pull the hand down, step in, punch, hit the back of the head, pull down, strike, and away. And if they don't go down, pull down, step in, punch, hit, they step out, they spin around, step in, palm heel strike. Okay? So that's the first opening sequence of Fukyugata Ich, working that bunkai application sequence, doing solo training with a target mitt. I hope that's been helpful and inspires you to maybe think about how you can work some of your own kata and bunkai applications using a target mitt and solo training.